Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing the latest molds I received, which I actually just received today. They are from Kauai Mold Supply and they are plastic. And I don't typically use plastic molds for my UV resin, mostly because they don't have a lot of give and they tend to break very easily. I ordered two molds from her, and she actually sent me two extras, the Sailor Moon tuxedo mask cameo you see, and the um, planet symbols with the extra moon and kitty symbol were included for free. So I have to thank her for that. It cost me about $16 with the shipping for the two molds, and then I ended up with four. I won't lie, order my molds from China, and I tend to work with silicone molds a lot, again, because they have a lot of give and they seem to not um, kind of deplete with the UV lighting. My flashlight kind of dies on me in the middle of this too, so you will notice that I don't have a lot of flash. This is just trying out the mold. I decided to start with the Venus planet symbol because I figured the colors would work best. I have a hard time finding a good red, which kind of limits me on trying to do Mars, to be honest. I like all of them. I want to do all of the symbols, but I can't find a good red dye or even a good red powder. In this one, I'm using the powders. These can also be used to make soap or to make makeup. If you use these powders to make soap, expect to be kind of colorful later. There are certain ones that do not come off when you soap up. Making soap, these ones will. As you can see with the plastic, I have a harder time kind of getting into the cracks of it because there is no give, and when you're using the powder again, it kind of needs to be stirred very thoroughly, and I tend to stir into my mold so I'm not wasting a lot. I do a lot of small things. When I'm using a bigger project, sometimes I will mix it and then pour, but for the most part with little projects, especially when I'm only making one thing, I don't mix a lot before I do it. It did take a little movement on it. I'm also not used to working with plastic, so I kind of have the problem there too, which isn't completely the mold. Every time I would poke the toothpick down, I was expecting a little give, and the toothpick ended up breaking on me because I kept poking, and it's like, no, this is hard. I can't go through this, which is okay. Again, it's not a fault of the mold at all. That is my UV flashlight. I am a huge fan of this one, and I'm not a huge fan of this one at the same time. It has a much stronger light, but once you've used that flashlight maybe a few days, had it like on for about an hour, while you'll still get a UV light, you don't tend to get a lot of good curing out of it anymore. I ended up having to put these out in the sun again after I did them. So I'm going to have to change the batteries again. I tend to go through batteries really fast on the UV light flashlight, where if you use the nail things for the UV light, they tend to have a much better cure for a longer period of time. But I kill those also really fast because I always have resin all over my hands. I know it tells you to wear gloves, and I never do. So I'm always getting resin and powder everywhere, as you can tell by my table and my little cutting board there. Again, trying to mix very thoroughly. Just trying to see how the mold fits and to see if how it comes out, if it's going to bend the plastic too much, if I'm going to be able to use this. Are these something I'd be interested in ordering more of, or do I think this will be a maybe iffier thing? And yes, I have a bunch of scratches all over my hands. I have a lot of cats. Sorry. And I use a lot of different powders, as you can tell. I do have some of the liquid dyes for UV resin. I don't like the liquid quite as much. It does have a smoother look when it's done than the powders do. But you can kind of, that's one that's better if you're going to mix and pour. I know I said the powders are a pain in the ass to mix and pour, but honestly, the liquid works better for mix and pouring, just because a little drop of that will go a long way, and it's really hard to control not getting more than just a drop. I've also had a lot of problems with black. I ended up having a star that I made. It was a beautiful charm, but it broke on me. And all this resin came pouring out because the outside hardened very well, but the inside never got any resin. So here I'm trying to get it out of the package, and I didn't like the bend on it, but it came out without ruining the mold itself. I'm afraid that too many times bending that packaging is going to be rough. But otherwise, it turned out very nice, and I think I might recommend KawaiiMoldSupply. Thanks, everyone.